you training as well?
Not as much anymore. I swam for. I don't know how much you know about how community colleges work in California.
Mm-hmm.
Because you went to USC.
Yeah.
Um, Community colleges get 2 years of eligibility, and because of COVID, that got extended to four.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, so my first 2 years didn't really count, and I only got half a year my first year. Um, but I swam my last like college season in 2023, but I still
Okay.
get in the water a few times a week, and
Yeah, train a bit and tra yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like a fish. If I'm
It's a
not
good
in the
sport.
pool,
For sure. I'm the same way, man. Like beyond my competitive career, I will still continue to swim because I go insane if I don't do it for after a little while.
like if I'm not in the pool like at least like 2 or 3 times a week, I just kind of like I get antsy.
I know. Yeah, I know. Not good for you.
All right, well, if you're all set, I'll get right into things here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Well, this is the Big Friendly Swim podcast, and I'm the Big Friendly host. And today's guest is a three-time Olympian for Trinidad and Tobago, Dylan Carter. How are you?
I'm great, Ahmed. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for being here. I'm really glad we were able to set this up. So I want to talk right away about George Bovell, who, I mean, I grew up watching him. I don't know. I know he's probably not a household name for people who live in the U.S., but I grew up knowing his name fairly well. Five-time Olympian, is, to my knowledge, the lone individual medalist in swimming at the Olympics from Trinidad and Tobago, something he accomplished when you were just 8 years old. And then he later won a bronze medal at the 2013 Worlds, which coincided with your first junior world swim.
Mm.
Growing up, how much of an inspiration was he to you for in your swimming career?
Yeah, George was huge. I think him and I have a good relationship now, and we're in regular contact. But as a kid, I remember exactly where he was when he won that bronze, where I was when he won that bronze medal. So it had a huge impact on me, and I think that more importantly, the point there is that you know it created a culture of excellence. And there were athletes that came before George, such as Sebastian Paddington, who inspired George, but George went on to win that medal, right? And I saw him do that, and it raised the level of the bar of what we consider to be high performance in aquatic sport in Trinidad, and so I aspired to that, and now I mean, I look down the line and I'm optimistic and hopeful at the next generation. I think we've got a ton of talent with, Nikolai Blackman, Liam Carrington coming through the works. So I think that George was, I mean, and Sebastian before him, of course, but George especially was so important in creating that culture of aquatic performance in our country.
I feel like it's kind of similar to a lot of countries where like there's one person who breaks through and does something really special, and it kind of inspires that
Hmm.
next generation
Yeah,
to reach out. I think obviously Hungary has a bigger swimming culture than
yeah,
Trinidad and Tobago, but I think somebody like Laszlo Che probably inspired Christoph
yeah.
Milak, or like
Hmm.
somebody like Kosuke Hagino, and oh, I'm blanking on his name. Takeshi Matsuda probably inspired like
Yeah,
Daya Seto, like all of these.
yeah.
It's like generation after generation. There's these inspirations who bring the next group in, and each
And
time there's that
you
level of
think about
improvement.
Yeah, you think about I mean, I'm not super versed with Serbian swimming, but this Serbian relay is like really high level now. And you think back to, Milorad Kavic in
Oh
2008, and you
yeah,
wonder if Kavic wasn't there, would that relay be around? Because those relay boys were probably 8 or 9 or 10 when, Kavic won that silver medal in 2008. And that was that turning point for them where they were like, "Well, swimming is really cool. This is a super cool sport. This Serbian guy did something really awesome." Um, so I don't know. It's just an interesting thing to chat about, right? Is if you think they would be where they are now without him, and the importance of those trailblazers.
I mean, I think it diversifies the sport overall. I think we're already seeing the effects of that, because I think it's been happening more in like
Mm.
after like the turn of the 20th 21st century. I think it happened a lot more. But like Doha World Championships, there was medalists from I think like 18 different countries. Like
Mm.
it's diversifying the sport. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry. I need a cough drop. My allergies began immediately upon waking up.
No problem. But you're absolutely right, man. Like it, swimming used to be, a couple countries, right? Like USA,
Yeah.
Australia, Canada was in there, France. But now, I mean, you look at the podium at any Worlds. I mean, you can see Caribbean athletes, you can see African athletes, you can see Asian athletes, South American athletes. Like it's anybody's game now, and information is so accessible now um, in the age of the internet and social media and AI and tralala that everybody is training so much better and so much smarter that there's no more gatekeeping of like the best training methods or anything like that. So I think that's a big part of it too.
Almost it almost makes me laugh. Like in the U.S., I've seen people be like, "Oh my God, why is the U.S. not medaling that much at World Championships or at the Olympics?" And I'm like, I don't think it's that the U.S. athletes all of a sudden dropped off the face of the planet in terms of talent. I think it's more of everybody else is beginning to improve and beginning. It's
Yeah,
becoming more of an even playing field.
absolutely.
Um, so you've competed on the international stage. On the senior level specifically now for over a decade. I think your first
Mm.
international competition as a senior, like national team athlete, would have been the 2014 Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, you know it. Yeah, you know it.
So, with that many years of international experience, what have you learned and what strategies have you utilized to maintain that longevity that's caused you to be hitting personal best? I mean, most of your personal best times come from just the past 3, 4 years.
Yeah, I think the thing for me that helped with my longevity and kept my drive, I kind of see my swimming career like I had two careers. I had, post 2021 and pre 2021. Um, so pre 2021 was, the college years and, the how to say it in a nice way. I guess the challenging years, right? I was swimming trying to swim 200 freestyle and 100 freestyle long course at a really high level, and I swam 200 freestyle in college, and that was sort of my focus event for the better part of my 20s until I was 24, 25 in 2021. Um, when after Tokyo, I said, look, 24, 25, I'm gonna I'm gonna pursue this 50 butterfly thing because I'd won the junior world silver medal in long course in the 50 fly in 2013, and it kind of I never prepared for it. It was always on the back burner. I never did anything for it in college. I was always a touring freestyle, and at that point after Tokyo, I said, okay, I'm gonna head into these sprints. Without looking back, without the what if going back to the 200 free, I said I'm gonna go head into it, and that it was like almost like Manadu just saying, "I'm gonna go play handball." Right? It's not a different sport, but it was a different career for me. It was a different training. I had a beginner's mind. I went into it with that. So I think that was a big part, and that's why you see a lot of those personal best, post 25, 26 years old for me, because that's really when I pivoted into those events. So I feel like now I have all of this sort of FOMO from my early 20s. Like, I'm like, oh man, I'm swimming these 50s like pretty well now. What if I was doing this the whole time? Like I look back, I'm like, oh, I wasted 5 years trying to swim 200 free. Like, but then some people say to me, oh, you wouldn't be where you are now in these events if you didn't spend those times on those events. I don't know. I'm not a physiologist. I don't know the intricacies of long-term athletic development, so maybe they're right.
I mean, I think it's as simple as like just from like a pure coaching perspective on swimming. I always tell the athletes that I coach, I'm like, if you want to be good at the 100 freestyle, you need to swim and practice for the 200 freestyle. I think it's reminds me a bit of like how Cam McAvoy's career has gone, where
Hmm.
early on he
Hmm.
swam the 100. I think he swam the 200 at a few world championships. I think you needed to build up that base of like, I've done some like hard training for longer events that now I can
Mm.
come down and do probably less yardage or less meters and swim 50s and like hundreds.
I wonder about the I think it has like maybe psychological benefits more than maybe like, oh, you look at Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt was running the 400 as a teenager.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that the training gets you really tough, and like maybe that is something that somebody who sprints solely for their entire life, they're always protected from that really really hard training. So maybe there's something there.
Oh, I think there's
I
credence
don't
to
know.
that, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I mean, I, like, when I was a club swimmer, I always tried to swim. I mean, at the time, I thought I was a sprinter, and I hoped I would be a
Mm,
sprinter. Um, I swam the mile in the 400 IM in college. It didn't work out. Um, but I tried to swim, like, every event at least once a season,
yeah,
which I think is something that, like, all club athletes should do. Like, swim everything at least one time. Because you end up developing that, like, individuality within your own swimming, and you can pick. Like,
yeah.
I swam the 50 butterfly and I really liked it. Or I swam the 400 IM and I really liked it. And either way, you have a base for whatever your body ends up being better at. Which, I mean, obviously that's mainly for like younger athletes, but
Well, yeah, I think that you're absolutely right, because there's a lot different between what you feel as an athlete and what the coach sees too. Like, I always felt I was a sprinter, but coaches always saw me as a middle distance athlete. But had I not done those events, like you said, at a young age, if I had just been shepherded only into middle distance, I wouldn't have had that thing in the back of my head, telling me, why not give this a try? Why not give this a try? So there's that gap between, yeah, I think there's something to swimming all those races, because you can find something and say, oh, maybe I can dig into
see, unfortunately for me, I found the mile.
that.
I mean, I
But you have
love
to be
distance
honest with
swimming. Like,
yourself,
there
right?
was,
You have to be honest
yeah,
with yourself.
like I jokingly complain, but I truly loved swimming the mile and the 400 IM, and I still do. But funnily enough, my last year on my college team, um, which you'll find this funny too. My college team is literally across the street from Finney's headquarters.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Great.
literally. I mean, the assistant coach for my team, she works for Finney's. Like, that's how
Okay.
intertwined the.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but I like hit the weight room a lot more my last year, and I think I was doing like I think my max on leg press was like 1100, and I started to notice I'm like, oh, I'm kind of able to sprint right now. Like, I think I went my fastest 100 fly time in like 5 years. I went like lifetime best in like my 50 backstroke. So it
Yeah.
was kind of an interesting dichotomy of like I was for some reason developing the ability to sprint backstroke and butterfly, but I still couldn't sprint freestyle.
Yeah, yeah. Freestyle is so tricky though. Like, I don't know, maybe it's person to person, but I've always felt that freestyle was just the hardest thing. There's so much going on.
Oh yeah,
There's so much going on. Fly is like a lot simpler, because everything that happens on the right side happens on the left side, and you just mirror it perfectly. So you kind of think about this short axis plane. But like the freestyle, with your muscle asymmetry and your rotational asymmetry and your, difference in flexibility from side to side, and
yeah.
and then you spend age group years like breathing to one side, right? Like you spend doing 6K breathing only to the left, and your stroke becomes all wonky. So yeah,
I mean, my coaches, personally at least, like weeded that out of me pretty quickly. The breathing to one side.
really. Uh,
Um, for a while, I breathe to my left again, and then I do 1, 2, 3, and breathe to my right, and then I'll breathe to my right again, 1, 2, 3, and breathe to
and
my
then
left.
yeah, I see, I
And
see.
then I started swimming the mile, and I was breathing every other stroke anyway, so it never mattered.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But I mean, I say it never mattered, but having that discipline to be forced to do it, my
Sure.
like club years probably helped me
But
still rotate.
Yeah, I think gets that feeling. Like Dave Salo would always have me warm up breathing to the opposite side. So I would race breathing to the left, but my whole warm up I would breathe to the right, like my easy and my little like hundreds, sort of
Oh, because he was at you.
60% building.
He was coaching at USC when you were there.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. Dave was my head coach for 4 years, for 5 years actually, because I had the year off in the middle.
So here's another funny connection for you. Because he's at ASU now.
Yeah.
Um, when I went down to ASU in November, and I'm like chatting it up with him a little bit, and he's like, "Oh, who was your coach in college?" And I was like, "Jason Craighead." And he
Ah,
looks at me and he says, "Professor Craighead was my teacher in college."
what?
So
Yeah.
my
Dave's
coach
from up
and
there
Dave
up north. Yeah.
Salo swam together, and my
hmm
coach's dad was his professor.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
There's
The
maybe
swimming
like a
world is
degree of
just,
separation between
yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Like at any given point, I feel like you could know somebody who knows somebody that you know.
Yeah. I mean, look at us having a chat down here in Trinidad, and you're out in San Jose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about your NCAA career with the USC Trojans, and
Mm,
I like to ask this to athletes who compete for countries internationally, um, but have trained in the U.S. collegiately. What do you think you've taken from that collegiate career and adapted to your international career going forward?
Yeah, there's so much. USC was like a real pivotal life experience for me. You know, I'm so grateful to the university and to Coach Salo for taking me in and, plucking this boy out the Caribbean and taking him to, taking a chance on me and giving me the opportunity. I got to meet all these great guys and girls and work with these great coaches. I think I learned how to train um, under Coach Salo really well. I learned what sort of make my body really healthy and really fit and fast, and I took that with me, you know, for the rest of my life up until now. A lot of the philosophies that Coach Salo put in, this sprint stuff, this USRPT, this sprint revolution, all this stuff is in vogue now. But Dave was like one of the pioneers, if not the pioneer of this stuff. Um, so he had me thinking that way from a long time ago and sort of put me in the right direction. But I think beyond swimming, just, the opportunity to live and train in Los Angeles for those years of my life has really shaped who I am as a person and really prepared me for life. I was out there alone, so far from any support system, and this swim team and this school became my family, and they took me in and you know they prepared me really well for the world, I think. So yeah, I had a great time at USC.
I think this is another thing again that like Americans have weirdly complained about and I've never understood.
Mm,
Complaining about like, oh, international athletes are coming here and they're stealing our spots at our schools, and I'm like, that's such a first of all, that's such a limiting mindset. I fully disagree with
hmm
it.
Yeah,
Um, I think it's fantastic that the U.S. college system exists in this way, where international athletes can come here and compete, and like my misgivings with yards aside, can have these experiences racing back to back to back or with different coaching
100%.
perspectives. Like I think it's
I think that
fantastic.
just to speak to that, there in other bigger countries, there's opportunity for you beyond high school to stay, like in Britain, for example. You can go to one of the training centers and continue your swimming career beyond the age of 17, 18, 19. But in Trinidad and for most of the Caribbean and a lot of the developing world, there's a huge support gap between the age group swimming, junior swimming, and elite world class swimming. So I can only speak for the situation in Trinidad, but we have lots of developmental competitions throughout the Caribbean for junior athletes that keep you going, that keep the ball rolling. but then there's no real support for you until you reach the world class level where you're top 10 in the world, and you can secure some, Ministry of Sport funding. Um, so the collegiate system is the only option for, unless you're top 10 in the world at 18 years old, like a kid from Trinidad, they're holding on to that hope to get a college scholarship. It doesn't have to be D1, it could be D2, D3, to get out there to swim for 4 or 5 more years, to get some, international experience in coaching, train in these, world class gyms that are fully equipped and with in pools with athletes that are at their level. So, I mean, I see where the American athletes are coming from, where they say, it's a fight for scholarships now, right? Especially now. Uh, but we rely so much on that collegiate system, and I think that a lot of the talent in this region of the world, and I'm sure it's for the same in a lot of other regions, is indebted to that college system. George went to Auburn, I went to USC, Jordan went to Tennessee, Nikolai now is at Tennessee. So we would be, if the US wanted to undermine the developing countries, they could push us out of that, and they would do that in very good effect.
I mean, the way I see it at least is like, shouldn't it be the point to try to improve swimming on a global scale, to try to give more opportunities to athletes on a global scale? Like, I really want to ask these like American swim fans, I'm like, do you really want it to just be one or two countries dominating everything? Like, that's so boring.
Yeah, I guess it is boring, but it's fun when you win, right?
Yeah. It just, I mean, I think just at least on a like a long-term development of the sport level, I think having these international athletes compete in the like NCAA system, it does nothing but good things. I mean, somebody like Jordan Crooks, if he'd never gotten that opportunity to train at Tennessee, would he have gone 19.9 in the short course meters 50 free?
Exactly,
Would
exactly
he
my
be
point.
like going national record times like 21 and 47 in the 50 and the 100 in long course?
Exactly my point. Um, and at the end of the day, I think it's, a confident athlete embraces their rivals because it pushes them further.
Exactly.
So I'm sure the great American athletes, I'm sure of this. They're happy that those athletes are in the NCAA racing them and come to Worlds and race fast because they know that, if, for example, Jordan wasn't in the lane swimming 21.5 next to Jack Alexi, that maybe he wouldn't have gone 21.4. I'm just
Yeah.
making up times, for example,
Yeah.
Um, but it's we need each other as rivals. You butt heads at the competition, but would you have pushed on if you didn't, have that rival? I don't think so.
I mean, I think Caleb Dressel would be the first person to tell you if he's swimming like a short course meters 50 free, he is going to want people like Jordan Crooks, people like you, all of these talented athletes. He's going to want
Right.
the best of the best racing next to him.
Mm. I was next to Jordan in his 19.9.
That was ridiculous.
I take some credit. I take some credit.
That whole short course worlds was insane. I
No,
mean,
yeah, it
like,
was fast.
I think it was 28 to 29 world records, something somewhere in that ballpark.
Something. Yeah, something.
And I'm like I watch swimming mainly with my friends who aren't swimmers,
Yeah.
and they're slowly starting to understand. Like we've been watching stuff dating back to like 2022 short course worlds, so they're
Mm.
starting to get
Yeah.
like the terminology, and they're starting to remember names of people.
Yeah.
Um, but even then, trying to explain to them how ridiculous, like, I think one night had like 6 world records in a row. Trying to explain that to a non
Yeah.
swimmer is like, it's so hard to do.
I think our sport is still so young,
Yeah,
like I think that that's a big aspect to it. And I think that certain events are definitely older or more further along their developmental evolution than others. And that's why maybe certain events, you see more guys grouped around 950 plus FINA points or World Aquatics points. And, those events maybe are still growing, evolving, but I think that's a big part of it. Is that relative to just using track and field as a benchmark, I think that relative to our evolution along lines of like as close as we are to maximum human performance, I think swimming is still relatively young compared to a sport like track and field. So you can still like you're never gonna go to no matter how fast the track is or what time of year or whatever it is, you're never gonna go to a track meet and see 26 world records broken.
Yeah.
So it's something that we as swimmers and swim fans have to enjoy because it's not going to be like that forever. Eventually it's going to get to the point of track and field where, a world record is really something very rare.
We definitely I think, a little spoiled right now.
Yeah.
I say that in a positive way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we've got athletes like, at least on like the women's side, like Gretchen Walsh doing 2 world records of the 100 fly in one day, or
Yeah.
like Katie Ledecky still being at the level where she can break her 800 freestyle world record.
That's awesome. I mean, a huge inspiration, by the way, last week in Fort Lauderdale to see Katie do that at age 28. They were chirping at me, the commentators were chirping at me in the 50 fly heats. They're saying, oh, Dylan is 29 and he's still swimming fast and da, da, da. But then Katie goes 28 years old the next day and breaks the world record. So it's real encouragement to guys like me, and I'm sure a lot of us other guys who are looking at those 50s in LA, like excited about it.
I was going to say, I feel like we've skirted around that topic of the 50s in LA, which is something that I don't know why I didn't put this in my questions. But we have to talk about, like, how excited does it make you that, like, they're finally added to the Olympic program?
Yeah, I've been a huge, believer that it would be great for our sport. I think that it would improve the viewership, which we all know. And I think, coming back to your earlier point, I think we're going to see a lot more athletes from other countries on the podium now. Just because of talent diversity throughout the world. I think that athletes from the Caribbean are maybe more genetically predisposed to be better at sprint events, and until now they've only had one, whereas now there's 4. So maybe you're going to see a lot more athletes from this part of the world being able to make those finals, those semifinals, maybe climb to the podium. It's not going to be easy, and they're by no means, I still wouldn't call them like true sprint events, because like the shortest 50 of stroke is 50 butterflies, 22 seconds long. It's still a pretty long race when you think about, time of effort and actual sprinting. So yeah, but I'm excited about it.
See, I'm crossing my fingers. I know the likelihood is low, but I'm crossing my fingers that we see a Nicholas Santos return.
No, you'll see some, if it's not Nick himself, you'll see, some boys, some really good older boys come out, because I think that, once you use it, you don't lose it, and maybe there's a lot of other guys like you and me who love to swim and have, hung up their competitive suits for a while, but have stayed in the water, and they say, oh, maybe they'll take a turn at it, and we'll see some cool stories for sure. And those events are going to get a lot faster.
Oh, yeah.
You can mark my words on May 15th that those events are going to get a lot faster.
I mean, I think my thought process in those events has just been like, we've been tracking world records in those events for like over 30 years now. Why are we not? Like, if we're tracking world records in the event, if it exists on a world championship level, if it exists on every other level of the sport, why is it not at the Olympics?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of, details that go into that in terms of medal count and athlete count and quota and tra-la-la that go way over our heads. But as a purist or swimmers, you think it's a no-brainer, right? Yeah. So I'm glad that they're there. I think they deserve to be there.
See, my conspiracy theory is that Nicholas Santos is already plotting a comeback. He went 23-3 at a random Brazil Masters meet, or 23-2 a few weeks ago, and I'm like, he's like 45.
Yeah. The, the thing, I don't know Nicholas super well. We have, a
Yeah.
passing relationship, and we will say hi and chat a little bit when we're at meets together. But I think that he just loves to be
Oh yeah.
healthy and fit. Um, I see where he's coming from. He loves to eat clean. He loves to train and work out and feel strong, and he loves to swim. Like he does it for his general health, and he's not doing it. It doesn't have anything to prove to anyone. But I think that that's why he's still able to do these amazing times, just because he's doing it because he loves it. And if you give
Oh
him a
yeah.
pool, he's going to go fast. Um,
I mean,
so
I think
I
you
don't know
have
if
to
he's
be that.
scheming, but it's working.
It's just fun for me to think about personally because like
Yeah,
he was always one of my favorite swimmers watching growing up. Um, but I mean, I think you have to have some level of like love for the sport and just like some. Like, I think you put it really well where like he's just doing it because he wants to, and that
yeah.
type of mindset can lead to amazing things.
That's just my outsider impression.
Yeah.
But he just, whenever you see him on pool deck, he's like having the time of his life. He's got the biggest smile out of anybody on pool deck, and he even bigger smile if you see him in the gym. So he's enjoying himself, and he's gonna keep swimming fast as long as he's enjoying himself.
Yeah. So you've had a storied career in both long course and short course, and like in 2022, you were the overall winner at the now World Aquatics World Cup. I don't know what they're calling it now.
Mhm.
And you competed for the London Roar during the ISL days. I miss the ISL a lot. What do you think are your strengths in both disciplines, and how do you think both disciplines both complement each other, if at all, and like are
Yeah,
sort of different from each other?
I think if we're talking about just 50s, I think that the short course it sort of works better for me in terms of my personality and my approach to racing. I think that the thing that in short course you can just go from the gun and really explode and give it everything you have, and you get that wall to help you out. It's like a little small couple seconds of rest on that nervous system, upper body, and then you can spin again. And it's just a bit simpler that way, where it's more straight up physiological. I mean, there's tons of skill involved, but I think that once you get the skills down, there's not so much pacing involved. Whereas the long course version, there's like it's so hard. It's so much about like pacing that long swim and how you finish it and the length of your stroke. I think that short course has been a bit better for me that way. But I do think that the best events that translate from short to long are 50s because there's only one turn, whereas in the hundreds there's one turn compared to three
Yeah.
turns. Um, so I think that working short course, training short course, uh, we know how important that dive is in the long course 50. Like if you're out of the game at 25, you're out of the game, and that's true. Like very few athletes swim over people at the world level in a long course 50 in the last 50 meters. I can think of a handful of them, like Christian Golomeev um, has this amazing swimming speed, and he can swim past people at the end or decelerate less than a lot of people like Bruno Fratus did. But that's a rare athlete. So you gotta be out the gate for 25. And, I think that swimming short course, racing short course, and training short course helps that. And it's helped me with that.
I swam with a guy in college who was mainly a water polo player. Never
Mhm.
really took swimming seriously at all. Um, I don't say that as a bad thing. He loved water polo, like that was his main thing. Um, but weirdly, could really sprint on top of the water. He could not do
Mhm.
underwaters to save his life. But he could, like, if he was on top of the water, he would run down everyone.
Really.
Um, And I always theorized, I always told him, like, Steve, let me put you in a long course pool.
Yeah.
Because he started off the season, I think he was like 24.5 in like the short course yards 50 freestyle. He went 20.9 at our
Whoa.
last meet. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I really wanted to, because like you'd watch him, he would dive in and
You should.
immediately come up. He would not do any underwaters. He would flip and
That's how
immediately come up.
George Bovell used to swim his 53 long course 21.5 in a jammer with no dolphin kick.
I mean, literally, it's just like that.
Yeah.
He didn't wear a tech
Yeah.
suit.
But let me tell you why you should put him in a long course pool, because I started in water polo.
I really
So,
tried. He just wasn't like, he didn't really seem interested, but I really tried because
yeah,
I'm like, dude, I'm like, you could hit an Olympic trials cut if you really
for
put your
sure.
mind to it.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, something about that water polo training, those like sprints and shuttles, they get you surface speed.
I did a season of water polo right before my last season of swim. Because my coach convinced me, because I had transferred out of community college at that point, but my coach convinced me that if he could bring me back to do swimming, that I would do water polo. And I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, fine. Um, I had an amazing time, but I think I just don't have the nature for water polo. I think you need to be
Mm.
like a bit more like ready to go.
Yeah, it takes a tough guy, like a guy that can take a lot of punches under
Yeah.
the water. Yeah,
Which I mean I can
not for me.
do. Like I mean I'd walk on the pool deck and people would be intrinsically afraid of me. Because
Yeah,
I'm 6'4", I'm a big
yeah,
I'm a big
big.
dude.
Yeah,
Um but at the end of the day I was like, I'm gonna go swim my
yeah.
distance laps.
It's maybe more mellow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Which is funny because, like, I'm typically one of the more outspoken people in the room. That I
yeah.
gravitate towards an event that people who are more, like, mellow and laid back will go for.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think that it's personalities in sports, right? I think that having a laid back personality helps you in racing sports.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a hot take. Maybe people don't agree with that. I don't know what you think, but I think that like in racing sports, if you could cut the tension, um, and be innately more of a relaxed person, then it sort of allows you to makes it a bit easier to like unlock your best potential in that short space of time.
Yeah.
Um, maybe.
I mean, I, like, when I was swimming, I always tried to, like, make friends with the people around me and, like, establish some sort of connection with the people around me because I'm like, I think it's more fun. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I love having that rivalry, and I love when that rivalry is, like, I don't want to say bitter when it's like a deep rivalry, but then you get
Hmm.
out of the pool and you're good friends.
Yeah.
Like
Great.
it makes it so much more fun. Um, but I'll tell you a funny story here about being able to race. My third and fourth years on the team was when I really started digging into the mile and like focusing on it. At our conference meet, I was swimming out of the early heats of the mile right after prelims, and I'm racing one of my teammates who we affectionately call Sean Nasty. Nice, he's like a 30-year-old dad, like nicest person you will ever meet. But he's a monster in the water. And for about like 1,400 yards of the race, he is a body length and a half behind me, even like half a pool length behind. Like he's behind me. And slowly over the last 250 yards, I started to realize I'm like, oh, he's catching me. So like with 75 yards left, it
The worst
became like a
feeling.
sprint. Like we were stroke for 75 yards. I'm leading at half, like the flags. Last lap, I'm leading, and then he outtouches me by 6/100ths.
Yeah. I don't know. It's it's always nice to be a bit behind, I think, to have the
Yeah.
pressure off, right? Like that's kind of an advantage in those distance events.
I mean, we've
I
seen
don't
like
know.
Bobby Fink use it.
Yeah, yeah. Is that how he's swimming now?
I mean, he utilized that many times, and I think people kind of started to get wise to it. So
Hmm.
like when
So now he's
yeah,
attacking it a bit more.
when he took out that mile and he was under world record pace and he was leading the field at the 50, I was on my feet.
Yeah. Whoa. Well, this guy, the German guy, Mertens, right?
Yeah.
He's attacking those 400s. He's going out really
I think
fast, I
that's the
think.
only way you break that world record.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I think
yeah,
when Biederman comes back 149, when he negative splits it by 2 seconds, I mean, you have to be out 147. You have to get as far ahead of him as possible.
yeah, yeah. Just yeah, I guess it sort of lends to the whole thing that's going on in the swimming world now with like the importance of front end, the importance of having speed reserve. Um, like for example, if your best time in the 200 is 143, then going out 147 feels like you're just going
Yeah.
easy, you know? So maybe that's the way that he's found to do it. I think he's a fast 200 freestyler, right? I'm assuming
He's
he is.
he's like in the last couple of years, he's definitely brought himself down to focusing on like the 200 and 400 because he used to swim distance events a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that that has helped him.
The funny end of that story, by the way, is the next year I was stroke for stroke with a guy for the entire 1500 or 1650. And then he ended up beating me by 13 100s.
He's no, it's
Two
yeah.
miles of
I
swimming that
swam
I
like
lost by 2/10 of a
it's terrible.
second.
It's terrible. It's terrible. But yeah, I haven't swum that many miles in my life, maybe once or twice.
It's a brutal race. I mean, for me, I like it better because I don't have the. I mean, I don't have that sprinting twitch. Like I can't sprint freestyle. I've
Mm.
tried. Um, but I've found that like I enjoy the difficulty in like the longevity you need to have for the mile versus the difficulty in making sure you need to have everything right for a 50. I think they're
Yeah,
difficult for different reasons.
definitely. Definitely. I think that the feeling that's the toughest thing about the 50 is the feeling that you there's no room for error. Like, you know, you dive a little deep, see you next time.
Yeah.
You push off a little shallow, like see you next time. I think that that is the pressure. Whereas the anxiety I would get for 200 free back in my 200 free days is like 7 days out, you're like, what is that third 50 gonna feel like? I don't know. I haven't gone to that like lactate threshold point in like 4 days now because I've been tapering and is it gonna go away? How am I gonna do it? Yeah, it's a whole different type of anxiety.
Yeah.
Two different sports, really.
I mean, I when people ask like, "Oh, what's the most difficult event?" I'm like, it really depends on what you personally can do.
But for me, pain wise, it's got to be 200 free. I
200, it's
think that
such an
if you
awkward
just
distance.
Yeah, I think if we're talking lactate levels and you checked everybody, this would be a really interesting test. If they went to one meet and they checked like the winner or the top eight and they averaged them, like I think my theory is that the 200 freestylers would have the highest lactate. I
It's
think.
one of those events where like you can't pace it. It's not a distance event. It's not a like an event that you need to like think, oh, I'm gonna like go a little bit slower on this 50 and then I'm gonna charge on the second 50. But on the same level, you can't really full sprint it because you'll
Mm,
start to like burn out after like 150 yards or 150 meters even.
yeah, it's weird. The long course one, I really haven't ever been able to do it very well. Um, but I think the short course one, you can just blitz that. You watch those college guys now; they just
Oh yeah,
go. Yeah.
I think 200 yard freestyle has come so far compared to like when we had like in I think it was 2018 NCAA's where Blake Peroni went 129 for the first time.
I was in the race,
Yeah,
I think.
that like now like people going one somebody going 127 is not outside the realm of possibility,
Yeah,
which is
true,
ridiculous.
true, true. Crazy.
So I'd love to talk to you about a unique experience that you had, and I'm curious if anybody's asked you about this before, because this might just be me being a swim nerd and being like, "Oh, this is weird. We should talk about this." At the 2019 World Championships, 100 backstroke prelims, there was some wedge malfunctions. I think it was the same
Yeah.
lane a few times. Um, tell me that story of like when you swam those 100 backstroke prelims, the wedges, like, it broke on you. You had to re-swim it, and then there was 18 people in the semifinal.
Yeah. So that's a really good question, man. Nobody's ever asked me about that, but
Thank you.
um, it's I was doing this backstroke like side hustle at the time, and I had this idea to swim 100 back at the Worlds, and we went to the heats, and a couple of heats before me, the Italian athlete Sabioni, he had a wedge malfunction, like the teeth of the wedge slid out
Yeah.
and went straight down when he tried to start, and they let him re-swim because he did the dive and stopped, and they let him re-swim the heat on his own after his heat went, and he made the semifinal. And then 2 heats later, I had a wedge malfunction, and I swam the race. Like my wedge went out, and I flat on my back, and I swam the race back and forth, and I went like 55 high. And Dave Salo was there with me, and he went over and complained to the technical officials. Said, "Look, you guys let Sabioni re-swim. You have to let Dylan re-swim." So eventually they concede and they say, "Okay, we let Dylan re-swim." I don't think they were thinking, that I would make the semifinal because, I wasn't really a factor in that event. But they set up a wedge for me after the heats ended, and I re-swam and I got into the semifinal. I went like 54 flat or something. And then there was this whole thing because we had just pushed out 2 athletes, right?
Yeah.
From 60. So with this rule, like, and they let us re-swim, we just pushed out the 15th and 16th place athletes that swam from the heats. So those federations were upset, and I guess the result was at the end of the night is they swam us in lane 0 or something. So we did 2 heats of 9 in the semifinal. And then they did something funny too, is they put the wedge in front of the backstroke device to like prevent it from moving forward.
They were like, it's not
So to
happening
like
again.
to cover their asses on like anything going on. So that was it was really unique. I don't think that happened. So, but then something else really funny happened in Melbourne. Do you remember that?
Oh,
That
in the
50
50
backstroke
back
final.
final, yeah.
I was in that final too, where I heard the thing go off, like when I'm starting, and I kind of look across when I'm kicking out, and I see some guys in the outside of the pool kind of stop swimming. So I'm like, all right, they're stopping, I'm stopping, because I'm not going to
Yeah.
do this if we have to redo it. So I stop and come up and come back, and then boom, back forward. Isaac beats Ryan Murphy, and then you get out the pool, we're all kind of looking around, and then, the World Aquatics officials come over and they say, okay, re-swim. But I had a 50 freestyle semifinal. So I did that. It was so anxious in the call room. Had like a world championship final that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Went out, warmed down, came out 50 freestyle semifinal, scraped into the final, and then came back again for the 50 backstroke final. It was a hell of a night.
Oh, that's so I completely forgot about that. That was such a funny race. I mean, it's
Yeah.
unfortunate too for like somebody like Isaac Cooper who like had like swam a time that would have
Yeah.
won in the
Yeah.
eventual like real final that happened. That is really
But
funny
yeah, I
that
mean,
happened twice.
yeah, it was just so weird for all of us because, yeah, like Isaac got maybe a little bit screwed, but I had an event in between. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody else had an event in between. So yeah, it was. Maybe I should just stop doing backstroke. It's too much.
I love that you
It's too
referred
much
to it
chaos.
too as a backstroke side hustle.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
that was pretty good. But I think I bring this up just because I think it's a funny story to hear about. Like it's funny to talk about. But I think it also like should stand as like an example for younger athletes of like this type of thing is going to happen at every level of the sport. Like it is an inevitability that it'll happen to someone at some point. So being able to like roll with those punches and be able to like get yourself back up and re-swim a 54-0 and get into semifinals, or swim enough to get into the final of the 50 free and then come back and swim the final again later. Like it's an
I tell that
important
story
skill.
to kids. I tell that story to kids all the time. Is I say, look, I had this that Worlds was a crazy one. I was like sick before, and then the 50 fly didn't go well, and this crazy thing happened with the 50 back, and then on the last night I scraped a bronze medal in the 50 free. So it was like, yeah, it's exactly like you say, you don't know what to expect, and things are gonna go not according to how you
Yeah.
expect them to go. So just gotta, I guess, roll with it.
So we've talked about like how the sport is developing, and all of these like competitions that are popping up for younger athletes in countries that don't typically have a lot of swimming like history, I guess is the word I'll go with, or just a lot of swimming like experience. I don't know what the right word is.
Mm.
I want to talk about the Carifta Aquatic Championships. They happened
Mm.
last month. They took
Yes.
place in Trinidad and Tobago. I feel like the meet brought out. I was looking through some of the results, and there was a lot of like times that I'm like, wait, these are pretty fast for kids these age.
Hmm.
What
Yeah.
does a meet like that mean for you to witness, like at this point in your career? Because you've kind of come this full circle moment where this would be, if you were 16, 17, this would be a
Yeah.
meet you were competing at.
Yeah. I did all the Cariftas. Like that was my meet as an age grouper. Um, and it was huge for us, but back in the day we were swimming in, Carif now Carifta is a huge production. Like our pool here in Cuba in Trinidad is world class. It's 3 meters deep the whole way through. We've got brand new blocks on it, indoor, outdoor, 50-meter warm-up pool. Like, so it lends itself to really fast
Yeah.
times. It's covered. Um, so it was awesome for me to see how this meet has come from, my first Carifta in 2009, which was, it was a big deal for us, but it was sort of a rinky-dink production back then. The meet was still young, whereas now it's a
It
huge
looked like they
show
had
with,
like a DJ at this meet. Like they had,
yeah, I mean there was like steel pan, like it was a real
yeah,
show. Finniss came on board. We were very grateful for Finniss to come on board and sponsor, the awards for the winning athletes to get a pair of goggles. So that was great too. We never had that as a kid, but to see the event grow, firstly, was amazing. And, to have it be hosted here, I never had it hosted in Trinidad. So to have it hosted in Trinidad and to be a part of that, that was really cool. And then to see some of the outstanding performances and how far Caribbean swimming has come. Like you said, these times are really good. We had Liam Carrington smash my 200 freestyle record. He went 149, Carifta
he
record.
went
So it was a
49
pretty
in the
good time.
100 too, right? Was he the same?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
went 49. He went 22.7 in the 50. He went like 55 in the 100 back. So there were some really good times. Like I think he's off to NC State and he's going to have a great career there. I think he's a super talent. Um, but yeah, I think that it was so great to have that career to meet here, and it's that awesome thing for teenage athletes that we have in the
Yeah.
Caribbean that we're missing between 17 and maybe 23, 24 when you can go to Worlds and be really competitive.
I think it's for me personally, like beyond just covering the sport. Like I've been a swim fan for my whole life, but
Hmm.
like I've been a swim fan on a frankly obsessive level for about like 11, 12 years now.
Yeah.
It's so exciting to see, like anytime I see an athlete from a country that typically does not have a presence in finals or just at meets, anytime I see them doing like a fast time or being successful in any way, it's exciting. It's
Yeah.
exciting to see.
But we need guys like you, man, because I think it largely go, because the swim fandomship is so concentrated in the US and Australia. Um, the sponsorships are all there for those athletes, and it's awesome to see. Like you say, I'm so happy when I see small country athletes in the finals and this and that, and it makes me happy to hear guys like you that see us and appreciate us, um, you know, fighting on that world level. It's good to hear.
I mean, thank you. I mean, I think I can credit it to swimming at community college. Kind of gave me
Mm,
this perspective of like, we never had any fancy bells and whistles. We had like a 14 lane, 25-yard pool. We had another 8 lane, 25-yard pool. which is like more than most community colleges
Hmm.
schools have, to be honest with you.
For sure.
We went to schools where it was like 6 lanes, no warm up. You got it,
Mm.
champ.
Yeah.
Um, so I think growing into that sort of career where like I just was appreciating what I had and appreciating my perspective on the sport, it kind of shaped this perspective where like I've always tried to highlight countries and athletes who don't get that big name recognition.
Mm.
Um, and this is totally going to sound like a sponsorship thing. I'm not sponsored by Finis. I'm not getting paid to say this, but it's why I've really enjoyed like talking with John because I think he has kind of the same perspective of wanting to
Yeah.
work with these people who are developing or who are like going to
Yeah.
potentially do really good things and support them early on so that like when they do these big things you can be like, "Hey, that's fantastic. Like I'm so happy for you."
Absolutely. I think that it's, John and Finis have a really good outlook in, what it takes to supporting athletes, through their journey. I think they really have a good appreciation for the athletic journey and, the things that an athlete goes through, the ups and downs in their career, or, the challenges they may face as a youngster and, that they will overcome to then be great. A lot of, a lot of sponsors or governments and ministries of sports and federations, they support you after the fact, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the nature of our sports, is that when you get results you get support down the road, and so it is refreshing to have a couple guys out there, or a couple companies that appreciate the journey and have that vision for someone, and can support them through it. It really speaks to that person and that company, to take a chance on people like that.
I mean, I know, like, personally, like, I don't have a huge pull in the swimming world. Like, I mean, it's getting to that point where, like, I'll be recognized at swim meets, and like, I had people come up and ask me for a selfie, like, at a meet last weekend. It's definitely cool. It definitely makes me feel cool. But, I mean, the best example I can think of is a guy like Chris Giuliano. No
Yeah,
one had him on their radar.
yeah.
Um, January 2024, I sat down for an interview with him, and I kind
Hmm.
of got this feeling. I'm like, this guy is gonna do something cool. And for like the 6 months leading up to Olympic trials, I told anybody who would listen, I'm like, Chris Giuliano is going to beat Caleb
Oh,
Dressel at Olympic trials. And everyone called me insane.
oh, that's amazing.
And then like I got like 3 or 4 texts from people like the night after, like the morning after he beat
He
Caleb
called
Dressel
it.
at Olympic trials. But even then, like I had him maybe winning the 100 freestyle. I
Yeah,
didn't have him getting second in the 200 and second in the 50 and making three
yeah, crazy.
individual events.
Yeah,
But it's so much fun for me, like personally, because like if I interview someone, like that person has now secured me as someone supporting them in whatever way I can, like
yeah,
forever.
yeah, yeah,
So like it was fun for me, like after that meal, like getting like shake hands with Chris and be like, dude, I'm so happy for
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. That's great.
Because
That's
he told
amazing story.
because he told me I was like one of the first people who interviewed him and who like put his
Mm.
name out there. Like it's rewarding on both sides of
Yeah,
the
for
story
sure,
is what I'm trying to
for
say.
sure. What is it about that, like what you said there is so true. When you can kind of see you sit down with a friend or a teammate or a young athlete, and you talk with them, and then you get that vibe. I don't know what it is. I can't put it into words, but you're like, something's coming there. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is.
I think it's
It's happened to
different
me a
from
few
person to
times.
person.
Yeah. Yeah, it's happened to me a few times where I can see, a friend of mine, I think, and I say, just get a feeling like he's going to have a pretty good season. He's going to have a good meet coming up next week. He's in a good place. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's some subconscious voodoo,
I mean,
um,
I think
or a vibe chakra,
with like Chris specifically, like he'd made that world championship team the year prior, and I
Hmm.
think that type of experience kind of just like lit a fire where like he made the
Yeah,
world championship team, he didn't make a semifinal, and I think he won a prelims relay medal. And it
yeah,
just kind of lights that fire of like, oh, I want to do something.
yeah. yeah, maybe he was a bit untapped.
Yeah. So my last question for you, and it's one I love to ask athletes because I think highlighting the swimmer is important, highlighting the athletic achievements is important, but I think just as important is highlighting the individual outside of the water.
Mm.
So we know who Dylan Carter, the athlete, is, and he's fantastic, obviously. But what makes Dylan Carter, the person, happy? Like, what do you enjoy looking forward to beyond just swimming in your swimming career?
Yeah, I think maybe in my early 20s, I was a real explorer. I like to get around the world. I like to see and taste and try and visit and experience. And, swimming was a real vessel for me to fill that other part of my life as well. Um, but now, I'm so happy to be at home, in Trinidad here with my family, with my close friends, my childhood friends. I've got a great group of friends that I spend, almost every weekend with here that I've grown up with since we were 8 or 9 or 10 years old. Um, and I love being here. I like to be on my island. I like to be with my family and friends, and I think that gives me great fulfillment and happiness. Like now the traveling is starting to feel like a bit more of a chore, but yeah, I just like to, go to the beach on the weekend or, go on a small hike to, a waterfall or something nearby. Um, and yeah, I like to, like, maybe similarly to Nicolas Santos, I like to be healthy. I like to eat healthy and feel good. And um, yeah, I think that those are the things now that I'm really leaning into.
Yeah, I think it's so important. Like, I mean, personally, like I love hearing about people's stories like outside of the water. Like, I I think it's so important as swim fans that we see athletes as like individuals and not just this is a person who swims fast and that's the only thing
For
they'll ever
sure.
do.
Yeah.
I think it's so important. I mean, I kind of can relate to that a lot because like I still live at home. Um, my older brother still lives at home. Like, I mean, he went off and worked in Dubai for a year, but
Mm.
he still lives at home. Like, I'm Middle Eastern, and I think there's a lot of similarities in culture here, where it's like
Hmm.
that family and that togetherness is really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
think.
um it's when I feel, most I can get into a routine, a rhythm when I'm here and
Yeah,
I like it. And you know what is important too is that I think here I can, I've spent my life, great parts of my life on swimming, and I think here I have it's easy way, sort of the most impactful way for me to impact the next group, right? Because I'm around, like I train with a club here. Um, and I'm 29. The next oldest athlete is like 17. So I'm in the water with them every day, and that gives me fulfillment, like sort of maybe mentoring them a little bit or helping them, being a teammate to them. Um, I think being here in Trinidad gives me that opportunity to help this younger generation a bit more, um, and that I enjoy quite a bit as well.
oh, I think it definitely like. I think those athletes would tell you firsthand like that type of experience of having someone like you swimming alongside them in the water is invaluable. Like, for me personally, like when I was a club swimmer, we had a guy who was on the U.S. national team for a year, training with our club
Mm,
team. And like I've talked to them, like we're like good friends now. Like we've developed a friendship as time has gone by. Um, but I remember walking on the pool deck like my last year of my club team, and he's just holding like a big bag, and I'm like, "What's in that big bag?" I like wearing those like Swedish goggles, like the ones with no like nothing on the lens. It's just like the plastic on your face.
yeah,
He gave me an entire bag of like 15 different like little like lens pairs and like different like straps,
awesome,
and I still have it.
awesome,
I still use
awesome.
those goggles to this day. Like, so,
But a little thing like that, like
yeah,
these things are expenses for swim families, like a pair of goggles, you break one a season, it's like 50, $70 for a pair of racing goggles now. Like, an athlete saying, "Hey, here's my old pair of goggles that I'm just gonna rot in my cupboard, like here it is, or here's my old swim cap or a training suit." Like, I think that's
Yeah.
it's a big help, yeah.
Oh, speaking of old swim cap, um, I need to figure out a way to display these, but I have a lot of swim caps. This is not even like a percent. This is like not even half. Yeah, well,
A good collection.
yeah, it's growing significantly. I'm hoping to grow it at U.S. Nationals. The goal right now is to get
Yeah.
one from every state.
Well, I can't give you one from a state, but maybe I can give you one from Trinidad.
I was gonna say, I'm like, the goal after that is to try to get one from every country.
Yeah. So I
I'm
don't know
still trying to get
when
an
next I'll see
international
you.
one.
Yeah, I don't know when next I'll see you, but hopefully I
Yeah.
catch you on deck sometime soon this year.
If you're ever at Finney's headquarters, let me know. I literally live like 10 minutes away.
Yeah, for sure. Great, great, great. So
Yeah.
we'll hopefully catch you soon, man. And
I'm
have a
trying
good
to get out
experience
to
at
like
U.S. National.
I'm trying to get out to like international meets and trying to get more. I mean, I need to save up some money to do these things, but I'm trying to like get to
Yeah.
like LA Olympics would be great, and like all of these international meets would be fantastic.
Step by step.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
All right, man. Well, thanks for having me
yeah.
on.
Thanks for being here. I
Hope it
mean,
was
this
good.
was great.
Yeah, it was a real pleasure. Yeah, and all the best at nationals. I hope you get a lot of traction and great
Yeah,
athletes on
thank
the
you.
podcast. It was fun to be on.
Yeah, it was fun to have you.